Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Today, I will be reading from the r/EntitledPeople subreddit, so let's jump into it. Entitled mother demands free waffles. Later sends her kids. This happened a few years ago. There was this one sunny Sunday, and I was in a particularly good mood. I was walking around my new neighborhood. All the houses were built at the same time, and about 50 families moved in and got settled in the last few months back then. People were still getting to know each other. I noticed a bunch of scout girls going door to door with some homemade waffles. As I walked past, they approached me and tried to get me to buy some waffles. I told them to follow me home, as I didn't bring money on my walk. While walking, we spoke a little, and it turned out their sales had been underwhelming, so I decided to buy all of their waffles. I was handed easily over 100 waffles. If I remember correctly, I spent about 60 to 70 euros. Happy faces ran off. I figured I'd open up my garage, pop up a small plastic table I keep in my garden shed, and plug in my waffle iron to heat up the waffles. I filled bowls with all kinds of sugar and placed a few syrups next to it. Next, I invited all the new neighbors over to my driveway for a free waffle by texting our Facebook group. Sure enough, a couple of families were keen and a small crowd gathered. It was all fun and games. People got to know each other better as I warmed the waffles, and I had fun with topping them. Made monstrosities with Nutella, ice cream, sprinkles, maple syrup, jam, all on one measly waffle. After some time, a frowning lady, who for some reason appeared to be in quite the hurry, made her way through my neighbors and approached me. I hadn't seen her before. She asked what all this was and why it was happening. I told her the entire story and that it was based on a whim. I don't know how to describe her that would do her character justice, but she was very in your face, way too intense. So they're free? She asked. Well, yeah. I told her again that this was meant to bring neighbors together, but that I'd happily provide her with a gloriously topped waffle too. She went, nah, none of that, and said she'd have a bag. She wanted no less than 20 waffles. Now, I'm usually not one for confrontation, and I was already deciding to comply, but then I realized that I owed her nothing, and backed up by the frowns of my neighbors, I told the lady that that definitely was not what I had in mind when I bought those waffles. I told her I was okay with preparing her one or two, and with her sticking around for a talk, but I wasn't going to just hand them out in large numbers to complete strangers. She then raised her volume, and exaggeratedly offended, she yelled at me what my deal was and why she was the only one denied waffles. Neighbors stepped in. I said that everything here had good intentions, and even apologized for taking her chance to buy waffles from the scouts. I offered her to buy some off me if she wanted them that bad, as I still had plenty, but she was adamant on getting them for free. Multiple attempts were made to reason with her and to make her see the intention of our event, but alas, to no avail. Neighbors isolated her, and after some irrelevant blabbering from her to a poor guy who hadn't even said a word, she stormed off. It kinda ruined my mood, but I decided to let it pass. Other families were still coming in, and the situation quickly became a bonding moment. Most were surprised hearing about it. Some already knew about her and were less surprised. About 45 minutes to an hour later, two unknown, very friendly kids showed up and ate a waffle. Most people had left by then, and I was just having drinks with some of the guys who stuck around. I had a few waffles left, and the kids asked if they could bring some home. Sure, why not? The event had ended, and they were friendly kids who didn't ask for many, so I complied. Happy faces ran off with a few waffles towards a lady in the distance. Yep, it was EM. And yep, those were her kids. She flipped me off in front of her kids, yelled something which I didn't understand, and they walked off into the sunset. We had to process that for a while. Meanwhile, Entitled Mom is quite infamous around our neighborhood. She lives a few streets over. She's employed as a caregiver in a retirement home. Poor people. And she's an absolute terror. She dumps her trash in other people's bins so she doesn't have to pay for the new paper kilo system. She blocks driveways. On several cases, reported as a package thief. Calls cops for anything. Has been seen to abuse neighborhood cats. The list goes on. Her kids are super sweet though, which is remarkable. I luckily haven't seen much of her ever since the waffle incident, but I thought this story was fitting quite well here. You might say I'm a hypocrite for denying her a free bag and then later giving to the kids, but there are some key differences. 1, they're kids. 2, they were friendly. 3, they asked, not demand. 4, the event was nearing its end. And 5, they did not ask for a ridiculous amount. Aww, that sounded so fun. I wish someone in my neighborhood would throw a waffle party. Also, yes, that neighbor is a royal bee with an itch, but I'm more interested in the fact that the Scouts where OP live sells waffles. I looked in the comments to find out more information on this, and here it is. Scouts sell waffles where you live? Where I live, they do cookies. Are they like Belgian waffles? Are they warm when you get them? Are they made fresh? How big are they? Yes, they are. I'm from Belgium. They probably spend the morning or day before making them. I'm not a good baker, but I guess it's pretty close to a pancake recipe. But yeast is added and the dough has to rest and rise for quite a while. That's as far as my baking knowledge reaches. They're cooled down and bagged afterwards. Size depends on the iron, but I guess it's comparable to an A5 piece of paper usually. We grease up our iron and warm them for a minute. All ready to be topped and eaten. We have 3 big groups of youth movements: Scouts, Cairo, and KSA. They all try and sell various things door to door once or twice a year. Mostly it's waffles, but sometimes it's pies, cookies, cake, and candy. Last month, KSA sold flowers. Welp, I am now moving to Belgium. I got my coworker fired. In college, I worked at a restaurant with a guy we'll call Joe. His fiance also worked there. She was annoying, but not nearly as bad as Joe. Joe was always a tool bag, but one day, he made fun of a new host that had just been hired by calling him a fag. We were in the back of the kitchen rolling silverware, not near any customers. This wasn't the first time he said something like this, but it just set me over the edge that particular day. Customers would often leave their itemized receipts at the table when they'd leave. I noticed that there was one in Joe's section left by one of his customers, so I grabbed it and took it home with me. I used the receipt number to file a complaint on the corporate website and said that I was a customer who overheard my server Joe call another employee a fag. And I was really offended and made up a story about having a gay son and how I'd never visit there again. My best hope was that he'd get in trouble and get his schedule changed. He had one of the best server schedules. This was in 2010, by the way. I forgot all about it, and a few days later when I came in, his fiance was crying hysterically and said, "Well, obviously I have to quit now too." I asked what was going on and found out that the company has a zero tolerance policy for that, and he got fired immediately. Then his fiance quit. Joe was pissed and never denied it, but said that he swore he said that in the back of the house and not in front of guests, and swore he was kidding around. I couldn't believe I actually got him fired, so it turned out even better than I had hoped, and I still have no regrets. He was my friend on Facebook before this, and we're still friends to this day on Facebook, but never speak to each other, and he still doesn't know it was me. Nah, it wasn't you, OP. He got himself fired by using a bigoted slur. You just expedited his exit. That's all. The F slur makes me cringe. It's in my top 3 words that I will not tolerate. And I am not someone who is easily offended, but this is a word that really sets me off when I hear it. It's so hateful and not funny at all. So, go OP for this petty retribution, and go restaurant for having a zero tolerance policy on this. But anyways, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed these 2 entitled people stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!